This recording is a collection of unintended indiscretions before microphone and camera. It is intended as a sympathetic tribute to the members of the radio and television industry who have been the victims of these classic boners. We turn back the clock to the early pioneer days of radio, to what is considered the granddaddy of all fluffs. Harry Von Zell, veteran announcer, was introducing the chief executive to millions of radio listeners who awaited this important address. Let's listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Hubert Heber.
Announcers are human too, and some of them, despite their professional training, can lose their perspective.
August for the best bread and rolls. Oh, good luck. And when you go into the store tomorrow, ask for August Brothers for the best bread and rolls you have ever tasted. I knew that had to happen one night, friends.
We'll switch you to the 16th tee, where we'll show you in slow motion Arnold Palmer, U.S. Opium Champion. I blew it.
The rumor that the president would veto the bill is reported to have come from a high white horse souse.
Here is an incident that happened at the expense of an unwitting and innocent contestant.
And now, before I ask you our first question, what do you do for a living, my good lady?
I'm a maid and I take care of a large family.
How large a family?
4 boys, 3 girls, 1 adult and 1 adulteress.
This is KTIW, Texas City.
Children on radio and television are unpredictable at best. Listen to what happened when a little child was asked, "How did your parents meet?"
They met when they were roommates in college.
The floodwaters in Connecticut are receding. All train service has been reestablished. The good weather news for tomorrow is clearing and fair. And here in the metropolitan area, all ferries are operating normally.
Listen now to this classic moment from an audience participation program.
Mrs. Pruitt from Texas, excuse me a moment, ma'am, while I make contact with Mrs. Louise Jacobs in Detroit, Michigan. Hello, Mrs. Louise Jacobs.
Hello there.
How are you, Louise?
Fine, thank you.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, Louise. How's everything in the Motor City?
Oh, everything's all right.
Good. Does your husband work in the automobile industry?
He's working in a machine shop.
He does? And what does he do in a machine shop?
He's a tool maker.
How long have you folks been married?
32 years.
32 years? Yes. That's a mighty, mighty long time. Do you have any children?
9.
9? Ma'am, your husband's not a tool maker. He's a producer. Congratulations. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how did you meet your husband?
I met him at the box social.
At a box social?
Yes.
What sort of a box social?
Oh, church box.
Oh, you mean where everybody brings box lunches?
Yes.
And then they bid. That's an real old-fashioned custom. The girl brings the box and the man bids on it. Is that the idea?
Yes.
And what did he pay for your little package that you brought? I could lose a sponsor for us right now, you know that. Well, I bet you had a good time anyway. Yeah. Well, it's been awfully nice speaking to you, Mrs. Jacobs. They're in Detroit, Michigan.
Several years ago on the Lux Radio Theater, presided over by Cecil B. DeMille, there occurred what is probably one of the most talked about incidents in radio history. So come back several years with us and listen to this closing announcement as it was made by actor Joseph Cotton.
Tune in next week when your Lux Radio Theater presents the rollicking comedy success, The Major and the Minor, starring lovely Joan Fontaine and Hollywood's newest sensation, that new talented personality, Sonny Tufts.
Here's a bargain you can't possibly pass up. Boy, I really blew it up that time.
A very gracious and popular television star got herself into this amusing tangle.
I know that I was asked to accept this award for Senator Kefauver as a housewife, because I think that that's what Senator Kefauver did more than anything else in bringing the Senate Crime Investigating Committee into the home, into the kitchen, and giving us all an idea of what was happening right here in New York City. And I know that luckily I was sick the first day of the hearings, so I spent 3 days in bed enjoying Rudy Halley. And I must say, I got to know his every move so very well. No. Wait a minute. But no, what I meant to say is that I really, you know what I mean.
It's low overhead that does it. So always shop at Robert Hall, where prices are high and quality is low.
All right. And now for our next contestant. What is your name, sir?
Jack Friedman.
Will you step a little closer to the microphone, please?
Right,
What's the name again?
Jack Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. And where are you from?
From Brooklyn.
From Brooklyn. Well, welcome to Sense or Nonsense. Now, you have chosen for your category the sense of sound, right?
Yes.
Now, you know how we play. We're going to give you certain sounds to identify. And now, here is your first question. For $10, what is this sound? Now, listen carefully. All right, now, what is it?
Oh, that's very familiar.
Come on, you got 10 seconds. You got 10 seconds. I'm sure you know.
Oh, yeah. That's,
all right?
That's Big Ben in Westchester, AB.
For my next selection, I'd like to do a medley of old Stephen Foster's favorites. Among them will be Jeannie with the Light Brown Hair, My Old Kentucky Home, and My Asses in the Dark Ground.
You stupid idiot. It's not my ass. It's masses in the cold, cold ground. Oh.
And in the world of sports, Yogi Berra, a great Yankee catcher, was accidentally hit in the head by a pitch ball. Yogi was taken to the Fordham Hospital for x-rays of the head. The x-rays showed nothing.
On a Man in the Street interview program, a young lady was asked the reason why she was in New York City. Let's listen to her classic answer.
I'm getting married next week, and I'm getting my torso ready.
Several years ago, David Ross, Dean of Radio Announcers and Diction Award winner many times, introduced the Latin American troubadour Tito Gazar in this fashion. Let's turn back the clock and hear this classic moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Tito Guitar and his Gazar.
Some bloopers are made by sound effects departments. Let's listen to a well-known dramatic show as they perform the story of Stanley and Livingston and see what can happen when sound effects go amiss.
Beyond the headwaters of the Nile, Stanley continued his search for Livingston. Dense jungle growth and the ever-present danger of the tsetse fly made the journey more hazardous. Supplies were getting low. The natives had almost reached the breaking point, when suddenly in the distance they heard the sounds of a village.
Millions have listened to and enjoyed the great symphonic programs by Maestro Arturo Toscanini, one of the greatest conductors of all times. But not many have heard this priceless, unguarded moment from a broadcast rehearsal.
What you play in waltz? Sette. Andante. You don't know the Italian speed andante, what it means? Un sette, un tram. È impossibile a credere. Possible to believe that you can be so stupid. You can't believe, no! Corpo d'un Dio Santissimo. Madonna Santissima. Basta, I can go. Basta. I can go.
And here's some news of local interest. Our neighbors over in Columbia, Tennessee, the largest outdoor mule market in the world, held a jackass parade yesterday headed by the governor.
Steve Allen, one of television's best-known performers, makes a practice of conducting ad-lib interviews with people in his studio audience. On one of his late evening programs, he chatted with a woman and awarded her a large salami as a prize.
Oh, my goodness, Steve, that's almost as big as my husband's. I mean, as big as my husband.
A remote is a broadcast that originates away from the station. On this annual Christmas show, children waited to hear a remote from Santa's studio at the North Pole. Let's listen in.
And now, children, as part of our annual Christmas party, Uncle John is going to contact Santa Claus.
Thank you, Miss Christmas. We'll try it now. Are you standing by, North Pole? Come in, North Pole. Come in, North Pole.
Come in, North Pole. Santa Claus?
That's his cue. I wonder why we can't get it.
I can't understand.
Maybe we should try it once more.
Come in, Santa Claus.
Come in, North Pole.
Have I got a line? Have I got a line?
I wonder why we can't get through him.
Where are you, Santa Claus?
We had last year.
Santa Claus, where are you?
And stay tuned for the late movie, Alexander Dumas' immortal classic, The Count of Monte Cristo, starring Robert Donat.
Children are unpredictable, especially on television. Listen to what happened to Maury Amsterdam as he quizzed a 5-year-old girl on his daytime show.
Say, little girl, what happened to your front tooth?
I lost my tooth while I was sitting on a toilet making
The practical joker is found everywhere, even in the radio and television industry, as this announcer found out on the first day of April.
And the bill goes to Washington next week for the president's signature. Here's a bulletin just handed me from the wires of the Associated Press. Washington, D.C. The White House has just announced that it's counting on all of us to make our victory gardens a success this year. New developments in fertilizers ensure a bumper crop for everyone. Let's get those tomatoes and cucumbers underway. Be sure to have a good supply of humus on hand. Your victory garden is your share of... Say, what the hell is this?
April Fool!
Even popular Dave Garroway is not immune to early morning fluffs.
And remember, no bathroom should be without it. You'll find dial soap a refreshing addition to your schlub or tower.
Let's go back to the year 1942 and listen to a war newscast from BBC in England.
And the Ration Board has announced that within the next few weeks there will be an increase in the allotments of certain food commodities. There's good news on the war front tonight. From North Africa comes word that Allied troops have stopped the advances of Hitler's Panzer divisions.
Good afternoon. This is your Bonds Department Store shopping counselor. After working hours at 6 p.m. on the 6th floor, models will display gowns half off.
Sometimes the reason for a blooper isn't understood by the listening audience. On one hot summer day, an engineer came into the control room wearing nothing but a pair of bathing trunks. The announcer spotted him just as they went on the air. This was the result.
A Philippine Airlines passenger jet and 24 persons hijacked a communist China. A Philippine Airlines passenger... And once again, back to the Larry Glick Show.
Don't forget, tune in tomorrow morning to listen to Phil Cook. He's that clever fellow who plays all voices on his own program. So tomorrow, start your day with laughter. Tune in on Phil Cook, the man with 1,000 vices.
Let's listen to a news item heard on the 11 o'clock news.
And here is a late story about that fire that broke out on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. The blaze of undetermined origin started in a peanut store on the boardwalk and spread to other stores in the vicinity. The fire threatened the famous Atlantic City $1 million steel pier. The peanut store front was completely demolished, and boardwalk passers-by helped themselves. Tonight, there are many boardwalk moonlight strollers with hot nuts.
You've just heard There's No Business Like Show Business, sung by the robust voice of Ethel Mermer.
The late and beloved Dr. Walter Damrosch, Dean of American Conductors, took great pride in his music appreciation series broadcast to students in New York schools. But even Dr. Damrosch was not infallible. Let's listen.
Our music appreciation program concludes with Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, followed by the delightfully gay music of Mozart's Magic Fruit.
Spoonerisms, the misplacing and mixing up of syllables, are one type of blooper that plague performers. Listen to this commentator on a daytime fashion show.
Now, our next creation is a necessity for sun worshippers. A beautiful two-place peace suit.
And that's the weather report from the International Airport here at Anchorage, Alaska. Now I'll take a leak out the window to see if it's freezing outside our studio.
Many strange things happen in a studio while the mic is live. Here's a case where the announcer picked a weak and wobbling folding chair to sit on as he introduced a nightly news show.
The National Broadcasting Company brings you H.V. Kaltenborn Views the News. And now, Mr. I'll be a son of a bitch.
The wife of a famous golfer was being interviewed. A simple question brought this classic answer.
I most certainly am superstitious. I wouldn't think of letting him play an important golf tournament without kissing his balls.
Small-town disc jockeys very often receive unfamiliar recordings to be played on the air. Here's a case in point where a hillbilly disc jockey received an album of records from Gigi, which stars Maurice Chevalier and Hermione Gingold.
And here's a nice-looking record package in from New York. We ain't heard it yet. It looks like the one that's going to be a good one. It's featuring that Maurice French Chevalier and that Herman Gingold in songs from Gigi.
Now stay tuned to America's favorite penal program, What's My Line?
This humorous transposition of words occurred on one of your favorite nighttime mystery programs.
What you in for, buddy? Larceny? How much time you get? 99 years. 99 years? How'd you get caught?
Some dirty squeal pigeon stooled on me.
Radio and television studios are carefully locked when programs are on the air. Here's a case where one radio station was too careful, and the result was the locking out of a performer who left the studio for a moment to get a drink of water with his microphone still on.
the door. Come on, there's no time to fool around. Come on, I'm on the air. Open the door. Oh, what the hell's the matter with you here? Come on. Open the goddamn door.
The fabulous Davy Crockett fad was climaxed with this announcement.
Calling all parents, calling all kids, here's your chance to buy a Davy Crockett bed. Yes, friends, Hunt's Furniture Store has Davy Crockett beds. It's a twin-size bed, just right for the kids, with scenes of Davy Crockett in action on the mattress.
Let's tune in on your radio kitchen of the air and hear about a new marinara sauce recipe.
For a heavenly Italian dinner that your entire family will enjoy, try Chef Boyardi's marijuana sauce.
Here's how the governor of the Virgin Islands was inadvertently introduced to a radio audience.
And now, ladies and gentlemen of the radio audience, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce you to the Virgin of Governor's Island.
Our next record is dedicated to all you gals who don't appreciate us. Oh, hell. Our next record is dedicated to all you gals who don't appreciate. Jesus. Our next record is dedicated to all you gals who don't appreciate us men enough. A hard man is good to find. I mean, a good man is hard to find.
The speed with which radio and television receive special bulletins from the various wire services leaves little time for proper rehearsal, as evidenced by this newsworthy item.
And here's a further bulletin about the train wreck, the news of which has just reached the station. According to latest reports, more than a score of passengers suffered injuries near Carrollton, Missouri. The train was a Santa Fe Chafe Streamline. Oh, I give up. You'll hear more news about this derailment later at 7 p.m. We return you now to our regularly scheduled program. Damn, I wish they'd get me the copy to these damn programs sooner.
So go to your neighborhood movie and see Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff in a chiller-diller that is guaranteed to make your end stand on hair. That is, to make your end stand up.
After her apprehension by local authorities, Miss Ellen Benson was confined to a menstrual institution for an indefinite period.
Let's listen to this audience participation program which featured servicemen as contestants.
I see we have a man in uniform. What's your name, sir?
Private First Class John Monfrey, sir.
And you're in the Army?
The Army Air Force.
Married?
Oh, yes, sir. In fact, I'm on my honeymoon right now.
Newlywed?
Yes, sir.
Well, I see you have a camera there. What in the world are you doing with a camera?
Well, you got to do something in the daytime, you know.
In radio, complete silence usually indicates something technically wrong at the studio. Here's a case where the engineer became panicked by an unforeseen silence.
His death is a severe loss to me personally and to the community at large, which he served so well and faithfully. I ask you all to join me in 1 minute's silence in contemplation of this fine, devoted public servant.
What the hell is going on here? We're supposed to be broadcasting a funeral.
Now here's another time check, 7:35 a.m. And while your coffee's brewing, let's take a continuing look at the news. In the Asia area, today more heavy fighting reported on the China front.
Sportscasters sometimes are carried away by the excitement of the moment. Here's one play-by-play announcer who was thrown for a loss when he came out with this classic.
The center snaps the ball back, and there goes the quarterback. The new substitution, number 21. He's fading into the end zone for a quick kiss, a pat, whatever it is. And it's complete on the 40-yard line. We fumbled that one, but it's complete on the 40-yard line.
Today's special, a 1953 Ford station wagon with radio and heater, light blue, a terrific buy for $1,300. Remember, it's in immaculate conception.
Stenographers who type mimeographed scripts sometimes finish a commercial on a page that has to be turned, thereby making it difficult for a commercial announcer.
Tums will give you instant relief and assure you no indigestion or distress during the night. So try Tums and go to sleep with a broad smile.
In Washington, plans have been announced in connection with the festivities and ceremonies for the arrival of Premier Khrushchev. There is still some doubt, however, as to whether the Russian visitor will receive a tickle-tape parade up Fifth Avenue.
One of the chief problems confronting the networks is the audience participation program, where there is no control over what contestants say. Let's listen to one of the Airway's best-known quiz programs that became the victim of this contestant's spontaneity.
Now, it's time we got on with our game here, which we know is double or nothing. And I want to explain to our first contestant, Miss Anna Miles. Right, Anna? Okay, Anna, I want to explain how we play this here. We have a $2 question, a $4 question, a $6 question, and a $10 question. You know? Any money you win on those, you can take away. Sit down, take it. Then if you want to play double or nothing, you can go for a $20 question, you know? And you want to go on top of that, you can go double or nothing for $40. Now, are we all clear for the game, Anna?
Right.
Let's square off. Anna, you tell me you're a waitress, right?
Right.
What did you do before that, Anna?
I was in the Navy.
You were in the Navy?
Navy nurse.
You were a Navy nurse? Where were you a Navy nurse?
Well, I was in Corregidor, 19 months.
You were captured?
Yes, I was. I was in Jet prison camp.
You were in a Jet prison camp for how long, Anna?
Well, I was there the whole 19 months, and the 3 months, the first 3 months we were in, we weren't bothered.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, brother, we were certainly bothered.
Gee, I'd rather see you win here today than anybody else up here, I swear.
I'd like to.
You're not married?
No.
Where's your family from? Where's your dad from?
Well, my dad is from northern Michigan. He's a casket maker.
A casket maker?
Right. He was waiting for me.
Anna, tell me, have you had any unusual experiences in your work as a waitress?
Oh, there's several.
For instance, anything that we could do with a daytime audience? You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
All right, what?
One is, yesterday I ran into, I hate to embarrass the man that's in the audience,
Yeah.
but he asked me a very question that I didn't know how to answer, but anyway, I found him.
Yeah.
He asked me, he says his friend went to the doctor and he's very sick.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, and he says, I don't know what to tell him. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, right away I says, yes, maybe I can. I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, what the trouble was? He says, well, he can't go out nights. He can't eat. Can't do nothing.
Poor guy.
And he said, he hasn't seen his wife away on a vacation. He said, so what do you think we should do with her? Well, I didn't know what to answer there, so I said, well, I don't know. What's your suggestion? He said, well, I think you should get a good-looking girl like you and take her home and just have a big screwing party. I said, what?
Now,
I said, why not go down to the driveway and get a screw?
Anna, why don't we go on with the questions we have here for Campbell soup? What is your favorite kind of Campbell soup? What is your favorite kind of Campbell soup? Vegetable. All right. Put Anna down.
An engineer was responsible for this blooper. He accidentally threw a switch that cut off the local program and substituted the current network show.
It's time now, ladies and gentlemen, for our featured guest, the prominent author, lecturer, and social leader, Mrs. Elwood Dodge, who is
able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
So if you have wash day troubles, put an end to them with a really modern detergent. Send immediately for a free Dirty Days supply.
Turning to the world of golf now, word has just reached us that in order for amateur golfers to participate in this major tournament, they will first have to qualify sexually. I beg your pardon, that's sectionally.
We take you now to the BBC in England.
Hollywood stars, as well as those here in London, are usually faced with the problem of losing weight before starting a new picture. But not in the case of the talented Shelley Winters, who in her latest picture, The Diary of Anne Frank, found that she had to gain 53 pounds. When asked how this was done, she replied she had to go on a very strict high colonic diet. Oh, mercy.
And now we have a very attractive young lady here at our microphones. What's your name?
Mrs. Renee Robertson.
And what are you doing in town?
I'm on my honeymoon.
Your honeymoon. Well, are you enjoying it?
Oh, I'm enjoying every inch of it.
To our first question, what do you do for a living, my good lady?
I'm a maid and I take care of a large family.
How large your family?
4 boys, 3 girls, 1 adult and 1 adulteress.
This is KTIW, Texas City.
Children on radio and television are unpredictable at best. Listen to what happened when a little child was asked, "How did your parents meet?"
They met when they were roommates in college.
We turn back the clock to the early pioneer days of radio, to what is considered the granddaddy of all fluffs. Harry Von Zell, veteran announcer, was introducing the chief executive to millions of radio listeners who awaited this important address. Let's listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Hubert Heber.
Announcers are human too, and some of them, despite their professional training, can lose their perspective.
August for the best bread and rolls. Oh, good luck. And when you go into the store tomorrow, ask for August Brothers for the best bread and rolls you have ever tasted. I knew that had to happen one night, friends.
We will switch you to the 16th tee, where we will show you in slow motion Arnold Palmer, U.S. Opium Champion. I blew it.
The rumor that the president would veto the bill is reported to have come from a high white-horsed souse.
Here is an incident that happened at the expense of an unwitting and innocent contestant.
And now before I ask you...
The floodwaters in Connecticut are receding. All train service has been reestablished. The good weather news for tomorrow is clearing and fair. And here in the metropolitan area, all ferries are operating normally.
Listen now to this classic moment from an audience participation program.
Mrs. Pruitt from Texas, excuse me a moment, ma'am, while I make contact with Mrs. Louise Jacobs in Detroit, Michigan. Hello, Mrs. Louise Jacobs.
Hello there.
How are you, Louise?
Fine, thank you.
Well, I'm happy to hear.
This recording is a collection of unintended indiscretions before microphone and camera. It is intended as a sympathetic tribute to the members of the radio and television industry who have been the victims of these classic boners.